Hey everyone, Seth here. Quick reminder, if you want to contact us with a question or comment or whatever, there are a couple ways you can do so. Either you can go to our email at more.layers.podcast@gmail.com, or you can go to YouTube, use the comment section below the videos, or a direct YouTube message is another way you can do that. And just feel free to give us any questions, comments, podcast topic suggestions, whatever, shout out, whatever, and we'll try to get back. Hey everyone, we're back. Welcome to an all new More Layers. I'm Seth Mariano.
I'm Jordan Smith, and it's certainly great to be back. Some viewers who are watching this in video form, they may notice that my background has once again changed. The reason for that, I've moved again. I do want to take a quick moment at the beginning here to give a shout out to the family who hosted me for the last year and a half or so. They've been very gracious. They helped me out in a time where I was struggling a little bit, and now I'm in a position where I can live on my own. So a big thank you to them.
Yeah, they're definitely good mutual friends of ours, and they've been real great. I got to go to their place a couple times during then, and like watch the Super Bowl last year and stuff, and yeah, they've been really great.
Yeah, I distinctly remember you coming over one day and we were just having a blast playing Mario Party.
Yes, Mario Party, right? I remember.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so we just a few months ago got off our latest Artists Unlimited production, Mary Poppins, which should be coming out on DVD sometime in a week or something like that.
I don't know the exact date. In fact, I'm not even sure they knew, but they did send out an email not too long ago saying that it sounded like, if I remember what it said, that the DVD should be done in the very near future. But that being said, the guy who puts them together, he works hard. He does this every year. So I'm willing to give him as much slack as he needs because it is not easy.
Yeah, well, if it's taken this long, it should be pretty good.
Oh, I would imagine.
Yeah. All right, yeah, and so yeah, we got off yeah, Mary Poppins, and what a year for it too. It was the 100-year anniversary that fall of the founding of the Walt Disney Company, and it was probably one of our biggest selling productions ever. We sold out our first show, in fact.
It was definitely a wonderful return to Mary Poppins because we did it about 8 years ago, and we were originally going to do Seussical, but because another school in the district was also doing it, we figured probably should change it up a little bit. So we brought back Mary Poppins instead, and it was a wonderful turnout. And we figured we'd spend today's episode talking about it since this show was the reason we kind of went away for a little while.
Yeah, this was a special production for me because I remember when Artists Unlimited did it for the first time in 2015, I attended one of the performances and then so in a way it was kind of a full circle experience actually getting to be part of it this time around.
Was this the first time you'd seen an Artist Unlimited production?
Yeah, actually the only time, in fact.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
eventually you became part of the cast and we welcomed you with open arms.
Yeah. Grateful for that. Yes. Yeah. And yeah, good time, good turnout, some good new friends, and
Yep.
good time with some old ones too. And it was, yeah, it's interesting thing is sort of that it was not really a movie that per se grew up with necessarily, but I knew at least of some of the music, and I'd seen the stage show a couple times. So yeah, I don't know how acquainted you were with the film or whatever, but yeah.
Well, at least when we watched, or rather performed it the first time, uh, I had definitely seen the movie before. I don't know if I had necessarily seen it relatively recently, And usually with each production we do, if there is a film adaptation, I like to watch it ahead of time just to kind of familiarize myself with the story. That being said, for those that are not in the know, the stage adaptation is actually a bit different than the film. There are definitely a lot of similarities, like a lot of the songs are the same, a lot of the story elements are still there, but definitely one big difference between the two is that whereas the film ends with the kite flying scene and the stage production, that's just the start of the second act.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, it is. That's true.
Oh, for sure. And our Mary Poppins this time around, uh, I won't say her name just for the sake of privacy, but she was phenomenal. A wonderful Mary Poppins.
Yeah, and was certainly a pleasure to work with and get to know off stage as well. She and a bunch of us actually, well, we went out and kind of celebrated a couple times. Like after each weekend of the show, we did like 6 performances over 2 weekends, and both of those weekends we went out and ate places, and we're just kind of letting loose and just having a good time.
Absolutely. And what really, for the lack of a better phrasing, solidified our friendship was on October 5th last year. Because for those that do not know, October 5th, 2020 was the day I lost my father. So
Right.
every time that day rolls around each year, it hits a little bit differently for me because, of course, I miss my dad. Uh, he was always a big support of the things I love to do, like theater. In
Yeah.
fact, in some of my early performances, he would be there backstage, kind of helping. In fact, the first time I flew, which was Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz, because there's a moment where he flies backwards. My dad helped make that happen. But every year now, when that day rolls around, I'm a little bit distraught during rehearsal. And this time around, when there was some free time, she pulled me aside to make sure I was okay. And she talked for as long as I needed to kind of just not necessarily vent, but it was a wonderful moment to just let myself go a little bit. Because usually I hold it in, but she allowed me to just kind of release that tension.
Well, now you guys probably know why. If come October 5th he's feeling down, you're probably gonna realize why. So
Yeah,
if you do see him down on October 5th any year, any given year, show him some love, help him out. Greatly appreciated.
definitely is. The support I've already received over the last 3 years when that day rolled back around has been absolutely wonderful. My family checks in on each other. The cast is always very supportive, and it just shows what an extended family really looks like.
And your mom actually showed up for our show actually this year from I
Yeah,
think Florida.
yeah, she did. After we moved, she went to Florida. I stayed in New York. So she hadn't really been able to come up here to see the show again, partly because of the distance. So when she had announced that she was coming, I, of course, was absolutely thrilled because she had not really been there for a show where I was in the starring role, at least for the vast majority of the show. So this was definitely a wonderful experience for her. I definitely welcomed it. And I think she came to the show twice in the end before she went back home. If she didn't, I think someone in my family, like my uncle, did because he was also up from Florida at some point.
Yeah, I did briefly see her a little bit, like back in the prop room, and
Yep.
did briefly greet her a little bit. And going back to like you and our Mary Poppins, how she kind of helped you through that difficult time.
Mhm.
I think it was maybe, I don't know, in a way, maybe kind of maybe further helped your chemistry on stage a little bit or something.
I would definitely say so, and she and I made it a point to just hang out at least a couple times before the stage production was performed in front of an actual audience. And the biggest reason for that was, like you said, for the chemistry, because if you're friends with somebody off the stage, then your connection on the stage will become that much more believable. If the audience can relate to what's going on, or if you can relate to the scenario you're acting out, then it's a lot more convincing. Perfect example, after I did lose my dad, the first performance I did was of adult Simba, who earlier on in the show also loses his dad. So when he has that scene where he's talking to Mufasa up in the sky and Simba's saying things like, "Don't leave me, please don't leave me," that was real. I don't know if most of the people in the audience necessarily realize that, but it was real.
Oh, oh man, that's heavy.
Yeah, but at the same time, it was a great way to make that scene much more powerful than it already was.
Yeah, yeah, it was a great time. It was definitely I kind of like to say that, like, every production I'm in is better than the one before it, and yeah, this one definitely, I think the best so far, and it was. I feel like it just keeps getting better.
Oh, absolutely. This would be your, would it be your fourth?
This coming one will be my fifth.
This next one will be your fifth. Up to this point, you've been in
Mhm.
four.
Yes, correct.
And I think this production of Mary Poppins that we just did, that was no, it wasn't the first time you did an accent. Because when you did Shrek,
Yes.
you were one of the pigs.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And it was the same accent in the end, too.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I wasn't really thinking about that when I did it. I mean, I was just kind of, I don't know. I was just trying to do what I was asked to do, I guess, and just wasn't really thinking about Shrek. I kind of did what I could, and it worked out, I guess.
Honestly, that may have been for the better because, like, yeah, if you're doing the same accent, it's probably going to sound relatively similar. But if you try to do the exact same thing, then it might just come across as the same character.
Yeah.
And looking back, I do remember that when you did Von Hustler in this production, even
Yeah.
though it was the same German accent, it did sound a bit different than the pigs. And that could have partly just because you have more experience now, but it also worked to your advantage to kind of differentiate the characters a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
I mean, I thought it worked out, so
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you.
of course.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course, yeah. Yeah, it was a pretty big year for you being Bert the chimney sweep too.
Yeah, I remember when we first did Mary Poppins in 2015. I really wished I was Bert, but I wasn't. Um, After a while, I kind of learned to just roll with it as Mr. Banks, which turned out to be a wonderful experience. I had a lot of fun with it because usually I might be the sillier, goofier character, the one cracking jokes. But Mr. Banks allowed me to be a lot more serious for the most part. And it was a nice change of pace. But now, this time around, as you said, I did play Bert, and I was really excited to do it. I love doing the British accent, anyways. And as I said in this news report that you and I were both interviewed for, uh, I said I kind of connected with Bert in a way because one of the biggest things he likes to do is make people smile, make people laugh, get people excited. It's like that's the kind of thing I like to do. I like to give people something positive to think about. Like if they're feeling down, I might send them an uplifting song, or if something's going on in their life and they need to vent, I might just sit down and listen for a while, so they have somebody to talk to.
Sure.
It's like that's kind of what Bert was doing throughout the entire show. When the kids were upset, he would either try to calm them down or get them excited about something. He would act really goofy at times, and of course, during Step in Time, he just completely let loose, and I really enjoyed doing that.
Yeah. Uh, Bert is such a cool character. I mean, he's so easygoing, so gentle, and also so positive and so energetic.
Mm.
It's such, you got to have a heart of stone to really loathe this character.
Oh, for sure. And even though the film wasn't greatly received by some people, including the author of the original books, the one thing I hear most people unanimously agree on is that Dick Van Dyke was a wonderful portrayal of Bert.
And say, well, yeah, and of course yourself too.
And I appreciate that. But since I wasn't Mr. Banks this time, they had to fill somebody else into that role, and this went to our good friend Tyler. And I am gonna be perfectly honest, I wasn't sure how I felt about it at the initial cast. I didn't think he couldn't do it, but I don't know. There was just something about it. It's like, would he be able to come across as angry, but sometimes gentle, serious, but sometimes goofy? But then I thought back to the year before when he was Grandpa Joe
Yeah.
in our production of Willy Wonka, who also had some serious but silly moments and whatnot. So it's like, if he can do that, he can probably do this. And sure enough, he did really well with it.
Yeah. It was perhaps the most challenging one for a lot of us, but probably the most rewarding in the end. I mean, well, from my experience, I mean, I actually did, well, as before mentioned, Von Hustler, as well as a couple of ensemble parts,
Hmm.
mostly based around dancing more than acting, really. And a lot of specific steps, a lot, a lot to learn, a lot of rhythm to get down. And I don't know if I totally nailed it, but I think I did enough to get by anyway, and I'm satisfied at least.
And that's what's ultimately important. And the first few times you do shows and you're still getting used to it, there might be some bumps in the road. In fact, even when you're an absolute professional, if you expect yourself, and I'm speaking generally here, not
Sure,
necessarily directly to you specifically, but
sure.
generally speaking, if as an actor you expect yourself to knock it out of the park each and every single time, then that might be putting too much pressure on you and you might make some mistakes you might not otherwise make. And I honestly kind of had that issue from the beginning, even right up through Wonka, where it's like I know these songs already, so of course I'm gonna get it. But every time, pretty much every time we did the production in front of an audience, at the beginning of the second act when I was to sing those lyrics, there was always at least one line I seemed to completely forget, and it drove me crazy.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's like we have a music pastor friend who said he was once told by a director, like, "Yeah, if you don't have any nerves, there's something wrong with you because you're too confident." And I don't know if that was the case in this case, but hmm, guess oftentimes that's what'll happen.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of confidence there, and definitely a few nerves when I slipped up. Um, But it's definitely good to be confident, but you also don't want to be too confident to the point where you get cocky. The same can be said for theater productions, for sporting events, or anything that involves doing something in front of other people. Because then if you're too confident and then you slip up in front of these people, it usually doesn't end well.
But I think the reception overall was really pretty enthusiastic. There were some, plenty of friends, family came, and they seemed to be real happy with it, and some kids from local schools, or at least my school, came too, and
Mhm.
they seemed to enjoy it enough, and yeah, I think very overall well received show.
Oh, absolutely. And honestly, one of the most fun things about the show sometimes isn't even the actual show. It's when we do the meet and greet afterwards. And you might have a few kids come up to you or walk past you. And it's really fun to stay in character the entire time. Because, like with the actual characters in like Disney parks or something, it keeps that magic going for them. Because sometimes they do legitimately think you are the character. So let's say, I
Okay.
think I actually did have a handful of kids approach me at some points after one of the productions of these shows. And each time I would, of course, keep in character as Bert and say something like, "Oh, hello there. Are you having a jolly holiday?"
Yeah, well, if that's your style, that's cool. Me, I prefer to leave the work at work. When my job is done, the mode is off pretty much. But if you enjoy doing that, that's perfectly fine.
Oh, yeah, I definitely do enjoy it because kind of circling back around to a previous point, it often causes somebody to smile or laugh.
Oh yeah.
And I would kind of throw some Dick Van Dyke esque physical motion in there somewhere. Like one I like to use, especially if a kid was initially afraid of me because of how much taller I am than they are. I would kind of do this thing where I pretended my arm was a crank and just kind of do this to kind of make it look like I'm making myself shrink. So that at
Oh,
some point I'd be about at their height and they wouldn't be nearly as afraid.
oh yeah. It sounds like something a mime would do or something. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea though.
Yeah, something like a mime might do that, but it would also kind of give them a little source of entertainment.
Yeah, no problem with that. Yeah, it was. uh, So, were you um, did you like see the film as a kid and like watch stuff like Saving Mr. Banks and other things?
Yeah, I know I watched it as a kid at least once or twice. Uh, and I know I've seen it one or two times as an adult. And I do remember when Saving Mr. Banks came out. I don't think I saw it in theaters. I think I first initially saw it at home. But when I did see it, I wasn't sure what to expect because, like, what does this mean? Is this a Mary Poppins remake? Is this sort of a prequel or what? But then I saw the movie, and it apparently was a documentary of sorts. They, of course, had to take some liberties,
Sure.
but it kind of went into how the movie was made and how apparently the original writer of the story wasn't always too keen on the route Walt Disney was taking it.
And it does touch a little bit into the origin story of the book series itself that started it all as well.
Right. And I do remember specifically one of the biggest things she didn't want to happen was to have animated characters in there. And if you've seen the movie, there were some animated characters. So you can imagine she wasn't too thrilled.
But if you see the musical, no penguins, no nothing. So it has been atoned for, I can say.
Well, I mean, it's also really difficult to have animated characters on the stage with you. I think the only time I've seen anything like that happen is this short-lived sort of talent show competition type thing called Alter Ego, which was a singing competition of sorts, but no one in the audience could see what the singer looked like. Instead, there was like a CGI motion capture avatar designed a lot by the person singing, performing in their stead, and only when they were eliminated was the actual person revealed.
Yeah, it's sort of like a AI motion capture sort of thing.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And then when I first saw that show, I absolutely loved it. Partly because I love the designs of these characters. A lot of the singers were really good. And I was thinking, if they have a season two, I would love to give this a shot. But at this point, they still only have one season, as far as I know. So it doesn't look like they do it again, but there's a part of me that still hopes they do.
Yeah, you did try to get on America's Got Talent too, right?
I'd thought
Or you
about
thought
it.
about it.
I was about to say, I don't think I ever officially auditioned for it, but it was greatly considered for a while. I thought about maybe doing the voice at some point, but then another person by the name of Jordan Smith
Oh,
ended up
yes.
winning the voice. So, of course, I had some jokes sent my way. It's like, oh, that's so awesome that you won the voice. I'm like, nope, not me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the positive spin of like the beginning of the first Terminator movie, the phone book killer. He just kills every Sarah Connor on the phone book.
Oh, yeah. It's been so long since I've seen the Terminator movies. I got to at least see the first two again because I think most big Terminator fans are telling me that the first two are the only good ones.
And those are the only two I've honestly seen.
And there's been a few more since then, but I don't think I've heard any real good things about any of them.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, well, I don't know. Like I said, I was not all that familiar with the film itself of Mary Poppins, but I was, exposed to plenty of its content through mm, a- and characters as well from other things like other Disney media, like particularly, I don't know if you remember like the Disney sing along songs video series.
I know of those. I don't think I ever actually owned one.
Oh, oh no, we owned quite a few of them. Yeah, and a couple of them included some music from Mary Poppins, and there was perhaps the most famous one, perhaps the one most everybody knows in our generation, is the one that was shot live action at Disneyland Park.
Which
I don't know if you're familiar with that.
which one was that?
Um, it was um, it was when they kind of did a sort of celebration for the 35th anniversary of Disneyland in 1990. And
Oh.
yeah, it was all live action, whereas most of these videos would just be, I mean, like musical number scenes recycled from existing films. But they actually did like a whole bunch of original footage shot in the Disneyland park in California. And at one point there was the Main Street Parade, and uh, some of the first characters that show up are Mary and Bert.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out then, because yeah, I don't think I've really ever seen any of those before.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. So I knew of the universe at least, but never really sat down, really invested in the film itself. Though I did, of course, by the time this production came to be, I was acquainted with the story from watching it on stage twice, Artists Unlimited, and at school
Sure.
auditorium. And so And it was probably the best production yet.
Oh, I would definitely say it was one of my favorites, to be absolutely sure.
Yeah.
Which made it all the more difficult when it came to a stop. That's the biggest thing that hits me when we finally get to perform in front of an actual audience. It's like we've built this up for at least a couple months, maybe like 2.5 or so. And then we finally get to perform in front of an audience. And then a week or so after that, it's just all over. It's like I
Oh, yeah.
almost wish we could do a third weekend. I know that might be a little much for some people, and that's perfectly understandable. But
Or
it's
maybe
like,
even just like a mini show, like in between the productions, like maybe like a shorter length production, something like a mini show, kind of like in the summer or something. That's something I've thought about.
well, I mean, they do kind of hold a lot of the cast members over with things like Voices Unlimited and Dance
Yeah.
Unlimited, which is something not everybody in the Artist Unlimited cast does. A lot of them do,
Yeah, sure.
but for some, it's not the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then once August rolls around, we know what the show is, and rehearsals usually start the last week of August. But the general timeline, at least for the Artist Unlimited production, is sometime in late winter or early spring. They have a cast reunion where everybody can say hello, kind of catch up, and have a nice time, kind of party a little bit with pizza or whatever. And then at the end, Sarah, our music director, she comedically kind of drags out the reveal a little bit by saying some of the obvious things like it has amazing characters, it has great costumes, wonderful songs. And at that point, she will start dropping like little clues, little hints. And then eventually she will actually say what the show is in case people haven't figured it out yet. And of course, right after she announces what the show is, immediately everybody starts getting into who's going to play what, who's most likely to portray this character, which we don't find out for months after that. And it drives us insane. But it gives us plenty of time to really hone in who we really think could portray a character well.
Yeah, and sometimes we kind of do that a little bit with purely hypothetical shows. Like I remember, like I think it was the Tech Week of Mary Poppins. A few of us went and saw Nightmare Before Christmas because it had just been reissued
Yep.
in theaters for its 30th anniversary and the Disney Centennial. And we were talking afterwards over dinner, like like who would play what role in that on stage,
Sure.
and it was kind of theorized maybe Jordan as Jack Skellington, me as the one of those trick or treat kids, whatever you call those.
Oh, it's I
Lock,
keep
stock,
forgetting.
and barrel. Is that it?
It's like Lock something in Barrel. I want to say the other one is Shock,
Maybe.
something like that. But I could definitely see that. And most people I talked to about it unanimously agreed that our former Artist Unlimited performer, Dalton, he would more than likely be Oogie Boogie.
Yeah.
I mean, for one, he's got the voice to match the character because his singing style is very similar. So he could probably capture the persona really well too.
Oh, yeah. 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 I've only seen that movie like maybe twice. Once at home, once on television, and this is probably the best go around I've had of it, honestly.
Oh, absolutely. It certainly had been a while since I'd seen it. I think the last time I did was back in college around Christmas time. So it had definitely been a while. But it was nice to revisit it. It was nice to see it on the big screen.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, I knew a lot of the songs. I loved the characters. It was just a fun experience to have, especially if you didn't get to see a movie in its original theatrical release. I think I can say the same for when my mom and I went to see Beauty and the Beast when that re-released in theaters. Because Disney, for a little while, they had this short run where they were releasing some of their movies in theaters again, but in like 3D or something,
Or IMAX. Yeah, I think
or
they did
IMAX.
like maybe in the 2000s they did like Lion King in IMAX or something.
They did Lion King, they did Beauty and the Beast. I want to say there was another handful of more, but I forget specifically which ones they did. But my mom and I definitely did see Beauty and the Beast in 3D. And I think the 3D worked in some of those scenes, especially when there were shots showing the size and the scope of the castle. It was just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I kind of want to see the Jim Carrey Christmas Carol in 3D again in the theater, you know? That would be pretty cool.
I don't know if I ever actually saw that movie. I know I've seen brief snippets.
Oh yeah, it is pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like that's the one that kind of motion captured his face, right?
Yeah, I think it was motion capture animation, yeah.
Okay. And I think the Ghost of Christmas Past was like a little
Like
fireball or
a
something.
candlelight.
Something like that. Like
Yeah.
some little ball of fire.
Yeah. Yeah, and so in keeping with the theme of Artists Unlimited, we're again doing a curious question, and this time it is, what are your favorite AU or Artists Unlimited musical numbers that your characters weren't in?
Well, for the longest time, I would have said Step in Time because I had been in that production twice before, once with artists and once with another theater group that happened to do it in the same theater earlier that year. But both times I wasn't really in Step in Time. Granted, Mr. Banks makes a brief appearance at the end, but now that I've done Step in Time, I can't really say that. So the first time, or no, not the first time, the first song I thought of that can still apply is from when we did Beauty and the Beast and Dalton as the Beast to close out the first act when he was singing about Belle running away and he's saying like no pain could be deeper.
Oh yeah.
It's like it's such a powerful song, and when they uh did the live action version, like that song wasn't really in the movie, but I did love Evermore. That being said, I sometimes have a hard time finding it, but there's a version of that song from when the live action version released that was sung by Josh Groban. It's like that song is powerful. I don't know if everybody realizes that.
Yeah, it's probably, it's got to be on some streaming service or something. I figure I think it isn't an official soundtrack track, isn't it?
I would imagine so, because there was another version of Evermore sung by Josh Groban
Yeah.
during the credits, so
Yeah.
probably. If not, then it might be in Josh Groban's album he did a while ago, where he did a bunch of musical numbers from theater. So I'd have to double check that to be absolutely certain.
Yeah.
But then when I was kind of cycling through the shows we've done before, the next one that came to my mind was when we did Seussical. And there's a song in there called Notice Me Horton, where Gertrude is singing to Horton because she wants to tell him how she really feels about him. And he's singing the exact same lyrics near the end, but he's singing it to the group of Who's he's trying to protect, or at least trying to find at that point. So it's like they're singing the same thing, but the meaning is so different.
Yeah, maybe we'll do Seussical eventually. We'll see.
I mean, we almost did. So part of me wants to believe they'll try to bring it back this year, but not too long ago, our director, I was talking to him, and they said that the board had started meeting together to kind of discuss what show they're going to do. And it's like, would they need to meet together that much if they were just going to bring a show back that they originally wanted to do the year before? Maybe they meant to discuss that. I don't know. But I couldn't think of one from Wizard of Oz because
Sure.
some of the songs in there were repeated or different characters basically had the same song, but the lyrics were slightly changed depending on the character. Uh, then we did Little Mermaid. I was Sebastian. I don't know if there were any songs in that one either that I didn't do that I would have liked to be in. Maybe, maybe Poor Unfortunate Souls, or maybe If Only as a different character, because Sebastian is in that song, but it's sung by four people or four characters rather. It's like maybe a different character next time. Uh, and then we did Shrek, and Shrek and Donkey are in the vast majority of those songs. Uh, so maybe Story of My Life near the beginning. Uh, but I can't really complain about the songs I was in because those were a lot of fun. Uh, Lion King. I would have liked to be in I Just Can't Wait to Be King, but it wouldn't have made sense because that's the
Oh,
younger Simba.
sure.
Uh, and then I do show up in the second half of Hakuna Matata. Then what was Wonka the next one we did after Lion
Yeah.
King?
Wonka, yeah.
Okay. See, Wonka was in some of them. I think it would have been cool to be in some of the songs sung by the kids, particularly near the beginning, because two of them, aside from Charlie, because he's in some of the other ones in the first and second act, but the other four kids, they each get one song. Two of them have a song before the factory, and then two of them have a song after they go in. And I think I was part of the two that were in the factory, but
Yeah.
the other two, it's like I would have liked to try those songs. Maybe even if Wonka was just in the background, kind of speculating what was not speculating, spectating what was happening. And then in our latest production of Mary Poppins, uh, let's see, there was the opening song, there was Jolly Holidays, Step in Time, Let's Go Fly a Kite.
Being Mrs. Banks, Feed the
Yeah,
Birds.
there were one or two Banks songs. There aren't too many that I feel like I missed out on in some of the more recent shows, but definitely at least two that I would have liked to be in from any of the shows we did were If I Can't Love Her from Beauty and the Beast and Notice Me Horton from Seussical.
All right. Yeah. So I made a list of a few, not necessarily based on whether I would have wanted to do them necessarily, but um, and I tried to pick one from like every one of the four shows I've done so far, and one of them is in this room here from Wonka. For
Mm,
those who don't know, that's pretty much Wonka kind of giving kind of the breakdown of kind of the different rooms in the factory.
yep.
Yeah, you know, good musical sound, cool, good vocals. There's no knowing. which
Ah,
is
yes.
extra fun.
The tunnel scene.
Yes, the Wonka Taniat scene. Yes, yeah, extra fun. Um, and then Chew It, the Violet Blueberry Gum song.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good one. It's like I was trying to remember what the other one was because I knew Veruca Salt had one, but I
Yeah,
couldn't remember for some reason who the other kid was that had a song in the factory, and it was
yeah,
Violet Beauregard.
yeah. Yeah. And then from Shrek the Musical, Make a Move, kind of the Soul Train jam of the show.
That one
So
was so much fun.
that was that was pretty goofy, but in a pretty good way though.
Oh yeah, at that point, Donkey was kind of hiring himself as Shrek's third wheel, like his wingman. And that whole song is just like, Shrek, do something. Say something to her to let her know how you feel. Come on, man.
I'd say he's his volunteer hype man.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. And then Ballad of Farquaad, which is kind of based on the story of Lord Farquaad's dad, his kind of troubled relationship with him. It's, it's good, nice kind of old school theatrical tune there. And
It's
then,
diff- Oh, go ahead.
well, no, you go ahead.
All right. I was just going to say that that song was kind of a nice twist because in the film, as enjoyable as it is, you don't really get too far into Farquaad's backstory, like where he came from, how he got into the position he has. Of, but then if you pay attention to this song, you can pick up on who his father is before you even see him at near the very end of the show. Because he literally says, Daddy was grumpy. And if people take that at face value, they might just say, oh, he was a really angry fellow. But no, he is literally Grumpy the dwarf.
And he even says in the lyrics, "Hi ho," and off to work he'd go. So there's a little
Mm-hmm.
clue there for you.
Even throwing in a reference or two about minors.
Yeah. And then also from Shrek, "What's Up, Duloc?" Kind of the grand, kind of sort of grand advertisement for Duloc, kind of very like cheerily dramatic song there.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it even opens with that little welcome jingle from the movie,
Yes.
which oddly enough is one of the only two songs from the movie that make it into this theater production, the other one being I'm a Believer.
Sure. That's taken then. I got to be specific because I was in one version of this song.
Hmm.
Precision and Order, the Banks House version in like the beginning of the show. Oh, we're kind of precision and order. That's all that I ask. Blah blah blah.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that song is sung a few times throughout the show, even if it's only really short. In fact, after Jolly Holiday, when the kids are singing about how wonderful a time they had, the song ends with Mr. Banks literally just standing up and going, precision and order.
right. I take it then. Chim Chim Cheree, specifically the Screever version, where we see Bert in the park, kind of drawing a drawing
Yep.
of the park or something. So yeah, that's just him doing his thing, kind of being his all happy, easygoing self, kind of in a way, in that way, being kind of like a comic relief to balance out the tense drama of the story in a way.
Oh, sure. And I will say that song was a little difficult for me, not because it was necessarily a hard song, but one of the challenges was that in multiple parts of the show, there is somebody, usually Bert and possibly Mary Poppins or somebody, going chim chimney, chim chim cheree. And then the lyrics change up each time, and you got to remember which time, like which lyrics to sing when. So because I was painting, I kind of remembered to go, I does what I likes, and I likes what I do. Today I'm a screever, and as you can see, a screever's an artist of highest degree. So
Yeah.
I kind of had to base it off what was happening, what the visuals were, because that really helped me solidify which lyrics to sing when.
Oh yeah, sure. That's it. And then kind of struggling to think of one for Lion King Jr. I finally went with Shadowland, Nala's solo song.
You know,
Yeah,
I'll have to agree on that. I didn't even think about that song because it was hard to think of songs outside of the ones that everybody knows.
yeah,
But now that you say that, it's like, you know what? That would have been a cool song to do. I do like that song.
yeah,
That's a good one.
yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. So there you go. And I think that's gonna do it for today. I'll get to finishing the post production on this in a little bit, and I'm going to well, just say, thanks everybody for watching, listening, whatever. And you probably remember the reminder I put in at the intro. I'm gonna splice that in at the beginning. The reminder about how you can email, message us, and
Mhm.
in the meantime, enjoy all of our material on Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Anchor, and have a good day, everybody.
And if you have any suggestions for topics in the future, if there's some event or recent event or something, whatever that happened recently that you want our thoughts on, just let us know. We might feature it in an episode, even if it's only brief. But any interaction we have with our audience is very much welcomed. So please feel free to speak up.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks again, and we're probably going to be away for a little bit because Jordan is actually going to Florida for a few days soon.
Mhm. Yeah, I'll
But
be flying down to see my family, meet a couple childhood heroes, and I will be back on the 29th. So if we don't have another episode before I leave, we will definitely resume in March.
no, we'll figure it out. We'll definitely figure it out. And until then, we'll see you soon. Thanks again, and take care.
So long, everybody.